Welcome everyone to this new episode of the Privacy Rules Privacy Espresso series. A new episode today on a series of connected sessions that we started last week on ethical AI and governance, all with the same expert staying with us, which is Muneeb Imran from Saudi Arabia. And Muneeb is a privacy and AI governance expert with over 15 years experience in the AI sector. So we are very pleased to have him with us to discuss about this topic. Under the broader umbrella of ethical AI and governance, the topic of today is AI governance and specifically the dynamics of justice and fairness. Last week we have been discussing about legitimacy and transparency to also have an overview on the starting and basic points, elements of this matter. And then today we are going to speak about AI governance. So first of all, I would like to thank very much Muneeb for being with us today. So hi Muneeb, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much, Alessandro. Pleasure is all mine. It was wonderful having the conversation with you earlier regarding the AI governance and the legitimacy and transparency. I look forward to our conversation for today.
Thank you very much, Muneeb. And yes, let's immediately start with that. You know that the format is pretty quick. So my first question to you would be indeed very specific into the topic, meaning, is there a relation between AI and justice and fairness, which is the topic of today?
Yeah, absolutely there is. And you know, let me try to deconstruct it. As we discussed earlier, that once the moral order and the ethical order of any society begins to collapse, and as we have discussed that there are various benefits of the AI adoption, and there are also risks associated with it. So therefore, in regards to the justice and the fairness, I think it's extremely important to see it at a broader societal level, and also see it at the individual level. Previously, we spoke about the privacy harms, environmental harm, or the societal harms that could basically take place as a result of the AI adoption. So these are the two. So I would like to basically mention two of these over here. So let's first see it at a societal level, that, you know, when an organization decides to replace an entire business function, or perhaps a smaller component of a broader business function, and the question comes, so let's say if they decide that, okay, the entire business function or a component of a business function is going to be replaced with AI. The question that comes is that what will happen to the workforce that is likely to be laid off? Now, it is important to bear in mind that it has become a general guidance, or you know, as an article of faith, that AI is to be adopted in areas where the business tasks have become mundane, or they have become so mature or consistent over the time, where the adoption of AI outweighs the business risks. I'm saying where the AI adoption outweighs the business risks. I'm not talking about the privacy risks, the societal risks, and the environmental risks. No, I'm not talking about that. The business sees that, okay, it's beneficial to adopt AI because the cost of doing business is much cheaper when we adopt AI than basically just going with the conventional ways. Now, in those cases, you know, it might be the case that the organization decides to basically carry out the menial tasks, which might be carried out by the janitors. That they might decide to basically replace them with certain AI functionalities, or basically laying off the security guards. The question is that when you lay off this kind of workforce, what happens to them? I mean, what means do they have to earn a respectful livelihood? So that's a societal impact that, you know, that takes place. And a few years back, I was going through one of the OECD reports, which explained that there has been a growing income disparity between different sections of the society, and see how it leads to an ethical challenge within the society, how it creates an ethical challenge around the justice and the fairness. So this is the ethical and the moral challenge that the organization has to navigate, in my opinion. So having said that, it is easier in certain cases to upskill your existing workforce. Like, take the example, like if you have software developers, it's easier to upskill them and retrain them and use them in a separate business function. but it's not always easy to upskill and to learn the new skills. Like take the example, I mean, to basically upskill the janitors, or to basically upskill a certain section of the society, it might be extremely tedious, and it may not be possible at all because of the delta which is remaining there. Like I'll give you my own example. I have studied technology ever since I graduated from the college. Now, if you tell me to basically start learning medical science, or if you start asking me to basically start learning finance and accounting, that's going to be a huge delta for me. You get my point? But still, that's the delta that's easier for me to to bridge. But for someone who has not been able to benefit from all these things, and if they get laid off, it creates that ethical and the moral challenge that the organizations have to navigate. What is going to happen to with that section of the society? So this is the challenge at the societal level. The second thing, the challenge that comes at an individual level. And for this one, I would like to mention one of my favorite books, which is with me. It is Automating Inequality. I suggest all your readers to go through this book. And it presents a wonderful case. And there's a chapter in it, which is chapter 4, around an algorithm which was adopted in the US, one of the counties in US, to distribute the social benefits across the society. The point that it tries to mention is that, how when you basically build the systems without taking the social aspects into account, that leads to creating privacy harms to the individuals. And those individuals, if they do not have the remedy around it, it perpetuates those harms. So these are the two issues around the justice and the fairness that need to be discussed at length, in my opinion.
Perfect, Muneeb. Thanks a lot for that. And from what I'm hearing and listening to you as an expert in the field, the impact, as you said, in the society of AI can be huge. But on the other side, AI, it's innovation. AI needs to keep moving. And one of the biggest questions that we always face in this sector is, how can you, as an organization, embed something like fairness by design without, on the other side, hindering AI and innovation and its development? That's something that I'm from Italy has been faced even by the Italian Data Protection Authority when they tried to block OpenAI. Then there was also a reaction from the society because they were saying they were blocking innovation. So that's I think a quite complex topic.
Yeah. So see, going back with ensuring fairness, I think so. Let's see it from this angle: that what are the obstacles to justice and fairness? I think we need to see this in this perspective, that bias is the fundamental element, that we all as humans are vulnerable to various biases that we go through. And the moral underpinning of the bias is that the bias is effectively an enabler of the discrimination. Discrimination in itself does not take place if there are no biases within our mind. Our biases actually weaponize that discrimination. And once the discrimination is so prevalent, it erodes the fundamental value of justice and fairness. Now, when it comes to the AI, and when we are dealing with the AI, making sure that the AI has the ethical design, it has the fairness in it. AI is being built by leveraging the data. And so there are two kinds of discriminations that could basically hinder the fairness element. One is the discrimination which could be caused because of the poor sampling of the data. Okay, I mean, let's say if you had the data which was poor, it was biased, it was non-representative. Over there, the solution is pretty simple. You basically beef it up with the appropriate data taken from the from the credible sources. Make sure that the data is representative. Make sure that the data has been cleansed from all the impurities, and then begin to basically train the model on that, and make sure that such bias is eliminated. However, there's another discrimination, which is the indirect discrimination. Again, the indirect discrimination is taken care. Again, this is driven because of the personal data that represents us, because we ourselves we often are categorized or classified with various data elements. So like, take the example, nationality, race. These are the matters of classification. Okay, the color of the skin. So when any classification is carried out because of these varying because of these personal data elements, they actually accentuate the bias, and this bias is actually used to weaponize the discrimination. Now, when it comes to the solution, I think the solution we can take we can take the lessons from the same privacy by design, where I think the more you involve the AI governance folks, right from the ideation into the design and then into the validation stages of the products and services, that can actually help you to mitigate the biases. But that requires the AI governance folks to understand not just the technical components, but also understand it. And again, not just from the regulatory standpoint, but you have to understand, you need to have a social sciences understanding as well. Therefore, I have been saying that we need to change our lens around AI into not just seeing it from the technical standpoint, but to see it as a social technical system. So therefore, once the AI governance folks are there and you have a functional and a competent AI ethics by design procedural mechanism in place, that is where you can make sure that you leverage, that you benefit from the innovation, and you also make sure that this innovation does not come at the cost of basically doing disservice or basically causing any privacy or any other discriminatory harms to individuals within the society.
Perfect, Muneeb. And listening to you, you were mentioning indeed to involve AI governance experts to support the company in taking the right steps. Under the practical side, in these terms, are there specific governance mechanisms that should be used or have been used to guarantee a fair outcome when using AI applications?
I think we are still in the early stages, even though there have been various regulations and the compliance instruments out there. Some are of obligatory nature, some are of basically just for the guidance. Having said that, I think again, European Union AI Act still stands out currently, but there is going to be a rise in the AI governance and the ethical regulations, and they are going to shape up the industrial practices, in my opinion. ISO 42001 is another standard that can be adopted. Pudera is another one. There is one from Singapore, which is there. I think especially for the jurisdictions that may not have anything of obligatory nature, I think these are the good starting points that an organization can leverage to make sure that they are whatever innovation that they are or disruptive, if they want to basically benefit from innovation or disruption, they do that in a manner which is sustainable and which does not bring about any AI-related harms to the society. So having said that, there's one more thing that I want to highlight, which is that I'm not a proponent that the regulations alone would prohibit these practices. Again, it's very important to create systems in place, create systems within the organizations, create processes within the organizations with tentacles around the organizational procedures, so that, and these systems would make sure that the ethical practices around the AI governance is well looked after. Otherwise, it will remain a pipe dream. If you do not have a workforce that can build systems, and those systems cannot uphold those values, this entire responsible and the ethical AI thing will remain a pipe dream, in my opinion.
Thanks a lot, and this is a relevant lesson to share by an expert with anyone that wants even to invest into AI. I would like to thank you again for being with us also for this session. I would like to thank all our listeners for being with us today, and I very much look forward. I invite, of course, our listeners to watch our previous episode if they didn't yet, and I invite them to be with us with the next one that will be on how to establish an AI governance function in an organization. So we will move a step forward into the practical insights from Muneeb, taking all the best we can from your presence here, Muneeb. So again, thanks a lot for being with us today.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.